All right, you lot, don't forget to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. Trust me, it really does help us out. With certain instances, and particularly in motorsport, where it is a dangerous sport, and we all saw it obviously with Romain Grosjean's crash at Bahrain. As a commentator, how do you kind of prepare for instances like that? Because to less of an extent at Silverstone, where, you know, Joe's accident could have been a lot worse. You know, how is that in terms of a preparation point of view for you? Because it kind of goes on the commentator then when they're kind of not showing what's going on, and you've just kind of got to keep that going. That must be like a tough thing to, and have you had to have that to any extent yet?
Yeah, well, Zhou Guanyu, Silverstone. We also had, even in, where was it? Japan and the tractor. And you're thinking, obviously, thankfully there was no incident there, but we had very little information on that. You know, we hadn't seen it on the live broadcast. I'd only seen it on social media. So you're just not quite sure how to respond in those circumstances. But the Silverstone one was probably the first one where I was like, oh, right, okay, seat your pants time. Don't say anything stupid. You can't say he's okay, but you can't say he's hurt because we don't know. You know, your producer is feeding you a little bit of information when they get the official word. You know, I think I had moments where he's moving, you know, and that was something I could feed across to the viewer. But equally, you've got to be so careful in terms of, because you don't know who's listening. You know, you could have family members, team members who,
and you're
quite
reliant on your producer at that stage, I'd say.
And the FIA and the graphics, and you know, you're almost not as in the loop as maybe a viewer at home might be at some stage. But you've just got to find again, it's it sounds awful, but sort of skirting around it a little bit. So you've got to say, obviously, there's a severe incident that's happened. We don't know what the outcome is at the moment. Obviously, the marshals are there, the medics will be there. The marshals do such a brilliant job, and then you talk about the halo and why that was introduced, and you just talk about the safety measures that have come in, but there's no skirting around the fact that there's been a severe incident on track, and you just try and then acknowledge it, and you have to refer to it again because you've got new listeners coming all the time, so you have to say why you're on the red flag,
just to clarify. We've been
exactly, so you've got to bear in mind that people might just be switching on, especially if you're running over and people think they're switching on for something, but it's you.
Well, I guess a lot of time when there is a big incident, people will then hear about it and then so you've got to be
so you've got to be really on point with that, and you just got to be so consider it. And I think you treat it like it's somebody you know, and it's a family member or something. You've got to be so careful around on what you say, and until you've got an official word from the FIA, you can't say anything. You wouldn't say anything. You can't just say, "Oh, you'll probably be all right." No, absolutely no, because you don't know. And if you're wrong, then that's awful. So difficult. But especially for that one, I had Jolien next to me, so we could have a great discussion about that, and he was great because then you go off on different tangents because you do.
Well, he knows he's been there. Like he's an F1. He was an F1 driver.
Yeah,
he's put himself at that risk before.
Exactly.
He'll probably see an accident and go, "Yeah, that's a severe one," or
and he's got that additional level of insight that none of us would have.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Japan incident as well. He was the first one to. We did talk about it, and he was the first one to say, why is that on there? Literally in the exact same conditions back in 2014, a driver died because of a tractor on track at Suzuka in these conditions. Honestly, what are they playing at? Yeah. So he's not afraid to mince his words. He will go in straight away.
I think there's a time and a place for that, and I think that was the right time.
And he's got even more of an authority, I would say. I would say to voice those things too. Yeah. But I mean, there's no sort of, this is what you say, then you say this, and then you say this. It's sort of just, it's live. So you just got to try and use your broadcast skill to get your way through it. And you almost numb yourself a little bit to the veracity of the incident, because you can't start thinking, oh God, you can't think the worst. I've just got I'm in broadcast mode. So I'm
come across in your voice potentially as well.
But I think I probably do go a little bit more enthusiastic and a little bit more, because broadcasting is a funny one, because having come from the acting world as well, when you're acting, you're being somebody else. You're not being somebody else when you're a broadcaster, presenter, commentator, whatever, but you are an enlarged version of yourself. I'm not like that when I'm going into the co-op or whatever it might be, So
he's dropped the croissant.
I'm going for the chicken and bacon meal deal today. I'm going for a green smoothie.
Sarah, I don't care. Just
exactly.
scan your items.
Exactly.